emotion, being depressed, and everybody wants me. Hey, Colin, you've been banging on the Steelers all year because they're undefeated but play down to their competition. There's a difference. There are things the Steelers can't do, consistently run the ball. Kansas City's different. They can do everything. They just don't do it all the time. And that's a hard place to be in for an NFL team that's running away with a division. Is that when I watch Kansas City play, my only question with them is, will they get bored? I mean, when New England was doing this dynasty outside of the Randy Moss years, it was a lot of close wins. It was all close Super Bowls. They weren't blowing people out all the time. Kansas City's the Warriors with Durant. First year, they just smoke people. By year 2 and year 3, it's harder to get up. I remember Jordan in his heyday winning titles and losing to expansion Toronto. It is hard, not only when you're great, but when you're so gifted and things come so easy for you, it is different. The Steelers are winning. It's not easy. They can't run the football. They've had 2 major injuries to their linebacking core. They have a bunch of young wide receivers, and those relationships are growing. So Pittsburgh's winning, and they've earned it, but it hasn't been easy. There are things they can't do. And the thing they do great, which is, that front seven. Now they have 2 major injuries they've got to overcome. Kansas City's different. I mean, when they lose a game now, we are shocked. We weren't, by the way, when New England lost games in the dynasty, we weren't shocked. But when the Warriors lost a playoff game with Durant, we were like, whoa, that's where we are with Kansas City. So that's why I see them differently than Pittsburgh. There's nothing they can't do. It is just a matter of, can they create in-house, and this is what Andy Reid's going to have to do. Urgency. This thing matters. You watched that thing last night. They were you never once in that game felt Kansas City was threatened. Nobody did. And that's either did they. Either did the Chiefs. They didn't feel threatened. They were in a game, but this was, you walk into an octagon, and Conor McGregor, for most of his fights, knows he's a better fighter. He's got to get the right angle. He just got to get the angle on it. Kansas City was just kind of playing for the angle, the knockout punt. I mean, they had a Tyreek Hill touchdown that didn't count, another one taken away. This thing could have been over much earlier. We were talking about Philadelphia. I want to shift to Philadelphia's got a real dilemma. So everybody's like, Jalen Hurts played well. Okay, if he's the solution, it doesn't solve the problem. You do not want a $35 million backup. There are certain combinations in life that are just bad. If you're a director of a movie, and when it's all done, you go to the studio and go, yeah, it's long and boring. You're done. If it's boring, make it quick. If it's a little, little stodgy, a little clunky, make it quick. When you have an expensive quarterback and he's currently lousy, you are done in this league. You're done. That is like, I've got a car, it cost me a fortune, and it's always breaking down. How do you get out of it? You got a car payment. You still got to get to work tomorrow. Like, I don't see I look at bad teams in this league. I look at Cincinnati right now, and I think, God, Joe Burrow comes back. They'll go heavy on offensive line personnel. They're great. They'll be fine. Jets, Jags, I can see the sunlight. Man, we said earlier, this is bleak. There is no solution. I look at Philadelphia, and if Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins, you may have thought he was overpaid. We all did. But he was never terrible. He had a ceiling. He wasn't terrible. Jimmy Garoppolo, who I like more than you, we felt for about 2 years, not anymore with the contract, but for 2 years, we're like, ooh, that's a lot for Jimmy Garoppolo. But he wasn't terrible. Wentz is expensive and terrible, and there's no way out. This league is predicated on 2 things. It really is. Your quarterback's talent and how expensive is he. And if he's super talented, you can have a little less talent around him. And if he's not expensive at all, Baker, Goff, and his rookie contract, then you get a lot of talent around him. When his talent now is debatable and he costs you a fortune, somebody made a movie, maybe Kevin Costner was in it, No Way Out. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer for Philadelphia. Colin right, Colin wrong next. But I'm watching that defensive front for the Giants. I'm watching the Giants' run game, and I'm like, Mark, football's about physical play, and the Giants you don't want to get in a phone booth with them. I think they may be the Dolphins of last year, where we're catching them on a trajectory that they may be the 4th best team in the NFC right now. Am I not? You called it. What'd you see?
Yeah, it's interesting, Colin, because I did the Giants in week 4, and they lost to the Rams 17-9.
Yeah.
And I went to my crew after the game, and I talked about it on my podcast, The Stinking Truth. I was like, the Giants are going to win this division because they are so physical up front. But I will tell you where they have gotten so much better. A couple of things. One, Jason Garrett, from a play calling standpoint, you want to think about being committed to the run. There's a lot of people that say, "Hey, I'm committed to the run," but what do they end up doing? They end up getting away from it because they're getting 1 yard, 2 yards, 3 yards. They're not really committed to the run. They just want to develop a quarterback so they can get their next head coaching job. So Jason Garrett continues to call the run. They did nothing in that first half offensively. Guess what happened? They bludgeoned the Seahawks, who had the third best run defense in football in the second half. That's an offensive coordinator that adheres to what the game plan is, right? He doesn't get spooked out of the game plan. So big kudos to Jason Garrett for staying with the plan. And then 2, defensively, you can talk about Patrick Graham, their defensive coordinator. You can talk about that front and Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence and all the guys up front. But let me tell you, they are the most complex, the most disguised back-end defense that I have watched all year on film. When I broke down their defensive tape, it took me twice as long to break down their defensive tape as it has any other defense in football, because the things they show the quarterback, the confusion they create, they are so tied together. They have gotten so much better over the course of this season. What I saw early in weeks 2, 3, and 4 when I studied them compared to what I saw the last 3 weeks, amazing transformation. And I know Daniel Jones didn't play, but Daniel Jones has played exceptionally well here the last 4 weeks. He has cleaned up all the issues that he had. I called it red striping guys early. He's looking off safeties. He's throwing it to the other side of the football field, understands what he's got, where he wants to go with the ball. This is a much improved football team under Joe Judge.
So, it's interesting. I'm watching Kansas City and Denver last night, and memo, the Chiefs are good. I didn't take a lot from Kansas City. They don't play with a ton of urgency. I get it when you're that good. But what the story to me was, sometimes we know this, Mark, you make decisions in the NFL based on what's around you. A prime example, when Peyton Manning was in Indianapolis, the Houston Texans drafted Mario Williams, not Vince Young, not Reggie Bush. And they said, well, we have Peyton Manning in our division. We have to take the defensive end. And I look at Drew Lock, and my takeaway last night was, I got to face Mahomes twice a year, Derek Carr twice a year, and Justin Herbert. Doesn't Denver have to move off Drew Lock? I don't see it. I don't get it physically. I don't get it.
Right.
They have to move off him, right?
Well, I think one, like I just talked about with Daniel Jones, where he was in weeks 2 and 3 and 4 compared to where he was going into week 13, dramatic improvement. Can Drew Lock make that type of improvement? Remember, 6 coordinators over the last 6 seasons, going all the way back to college. So he takes too many chances with the football. He is very raw. He played in a real spread offense at Missouri that really hasn't prepared him to play in the NFL. There's no question that he's got some talent, that he's got some moxie about him. Time and place, I'm kind of with you on the time and place aspect thing. Like, he throws his second touchdown to score 16 points, and he's running down the sideline, with his hand over his ear, like, where are you, Chiefs fans?
Oh, boy.
I mean, let's relax a little bit on that, Drew, all right? I mean, come on. You guys average 18 points a game, and you're coming off a game where, by the way, no quarterback played. But again, here's the deal. I was listening to you earlier about assets and draft picks, right? And I came from Washington, where I cut my teeth in the National Football League under Joe Gibbs. And Joe Gibbs had a philosophy. I'd rather trade a unknown commodity for a known commodity. I want a known commodity. I want to know what a guy can do. And by the way, the last time I checked, the draft's still a 50-50 crapshoot.
Yeah.
Half the guys can't play. Half the guys get into the NFL, and it's overwhelming to them. That's why on every team, there's a college free agent that didn't get drafted that's an awesome player, right? Like, how'd you miss this guy? Well, you missed him because you don't know when you get to the next level how a guy's going to respond to playing at the top. And there's a lot of guys, we talk about athleticism and stuff, but it really is from the neck up. Do you understand the game? And how quickly can you process information? Those are the guys that can play.
Finally, Belichick and the Patriots. I mean, it's hard to believe. If I said Cam Newton had 69 yards passing, you'd think he lost or narrowly won, and he won 45-0. And I'm watching that Chargers game, and I'm thinking, those Charger players, they know it's not on them, right? Like, have you ever been you had good coaches, so this may not be relatable to you. But have you ever been in a game when you were either on a team with a superior coach or an inferior coach and you knew it was a mismatch?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had some situations in the middle of my career in Washington where, we just weren't a very good team. I mean, I'll never forget going to Dallas, I think in '94, and just surveying. I think they had Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper, and they had Mark Tuinei and Nate Newton and Mark Stepnowski and Larry Allen and Eric Williams and Jay Novacek and Moose Johnson and Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman. I'm watching them warm up before our offense came out, and I'm like, damn, we don't have one guy that could start on this team. Like, we're going to get our ass kicked. And we did, So, I mean, I've been there before, so I know what that feels like.
Yeah. Belichick kind of put on a coaching display yesterday.